Hello subscribers and welcome to our subscription video this month, where I am joined by Kasper Engel, co-founder of the Coffee Collective and in charge of our roastery. And you'll be helping me chat a little bit about the Ethiopian coffee that we're shipping to you this month. But before we get to that, we're actually going to start with the other coffee you're getting from Finca Vista Hermosa in Guatemala.
It's one of our oldest colleagues, you could say. Klaus met him even before we started Coffee Collective.
And we both been to the farm. I was lucky enough to be the first one from us visiting the farm, and it's an astonishing place. It's a quite small farm, I would say. What was your impression going there?
I mean, I was quite young back then. It was my second origin trip. The only place I've been to was the Terra before that. So this was my first small scale farm.
Yeah, the Terra is a much bigger operation and kind of mind-blowing in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but so is Finca Vista Hermosa when you've never seen a small coffee farm. The landscape was just so different from anything I've been to, and you travel through the volcanoes and all that on the way to Weiwei, so it's absolutely amazing. The
steep hills when you're sitting overlooking the little valley down there, it's quite special. So the lots that you're receiving this time, I think, is quite interesting. This is actually from the original Vista Hermosa plot, so the oldest part of the farm, so to speak. But it's actually two different lots. And what we thought was really interesting is that cupping these, even though they're from the same place, like the exact same micro lot on the farm, they cup differently. We had one being slightly more acidic and fresh, and the other one being more full-bodied and sweet. And we thought this was quite interesting because Vista Hermosa can be quite citrusy and acidic for a Guatemalan coffee. But we thought that taste profile would suit the filter roast really well. And then we have taken the other lot, the one with the lower acidity and the more body and fuller sweetness, into the espresso roast. So you're actually getting from the same farm, from the same microlots, two different outturns or even more micro lots, specifically for filter and for espresso. The other coffee that we have for you this time around is from Ethiopia, the birthplace of Arabica coffee, the only place for it to grow wild, the heirloom varieties. We've heard all the stories. But this coffee is a new one in our range. It's a new one for me. I think it's one of the coffees I've genuinely been the most excited about us having in a long time. Washed Ethiopian is completely my thing. It's what I really get excited about with coffee.
Yeah.
Kirite is the name of it.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about this coffee?
The coffee is from the Gucci area down south in Ethiopia. It's quite fun. We were doing the cupping both in Addis and then back home here in Copenhagen. And we found this Gucci coffee to taste more like the Jägerchef coffees that we normally really love. So throughout the years, we've almost always had a Jägerchef coffee every year. This year, the Gucci coffees just outshined the Jägerchef, at least for me and for pretty much everyone at the cupping table. So we chose to buy two different Gucci lots, where one of them is the Kiriti. And I was just blown away on the cupping table. It's like, wow, this is...
I didn't participate in this cupping, and I have to admit I was kind of like a little bit nervous because I really love Jägerchef. It's one of the probably the most famous region in the coffee growing world. It's really famous for these very strong tea-like aromas, very floral, citrusy kind of coffees. And I've always loved when we had like really good Jägerchefs. And then I heard that you and Peter had selected two from Gucci. I was like, oh no, I want my Jäger.
Yeah.
But then cupping it, like as soon as it arrived, tasting it, it blew everything I've tasted out of the waters. And you're very right, it is very much like that Jägerchef taste profile. They're also quite like its neighboring counties or regions.
I mean, it's both in Gucci, but I'd say quite far from each other. So the Buku coffee that you all had last month is more actually on the border to Jägerchef, whereas this is further into the Gucci region. So I mean, that's kind of weird maybe if you look at the flavors, but of course there's something with varieties and the small areas around that you really cannot make up in just location.
Last video, George, who's your roaster in here was explaining about yours and his trip
Yeah.
to Ethiopia
Yeah.
last time, which sounded quite fun. You were drinking smoked milk and
Oh yes. Oh,
I don't
you
know
heard
what
about
what
that.
else. So these small farmers are planting their own seeds, growing coffee. Is it actually wild coffee or is it plantation? So what's the deal like? And do you know anything about varieties in this area?
I mean, normally you have certain varieties that you're allowed to grow in certain areas to give the certain profile. And there, back in the 70s, there was a lot of tests on different varieties in Ethiopia. So they have like variety banks, and then farmers can get certain varieties. And it's all, you know, based on numbers. So it has like 73, 110 or such. No, so
Exotic names.
It's not the most exotic name. So some of them grow in the forest, some grow in the backyard. It varies a lot. I mean, most farms that I come about, they all know what they're growing, but they don't know exactly where it is. So everything is blended.
Right, so these are the two versions of the Kiriti that we're sending you, the filter roast and the espresso roast. How are they different in terms of roasting, Kasper?
Normally, for the filter roast, we will give it more energy throughout the roast. This is to highlight the more citrusy, the lightness of the coffee. The espressos, we tend to drag it out a little bit to focus more on the sweetness, less on acidity. So they actually cup quite different as well. You enhance some really different aromas. So in one it's very citrus, the other one is more tropical fruit.
Yeah.
So it's quite fun.
Interesting. So let's have a taste of that.
Yep.
We have it both brewed here on Kirite as filter, and we also have it as espresso. Maybe let's start with the filter though, before we taste the other thing.
Elegant.
Really elegant, very, very delicate. So you're the 2008 World Cup tasting champion, of course. So you know a thing about tasting.
I used to.
You used to. What comes out of this for you? Like what springs
I mean,
to you?
it is all the classic Jägerchef aromas that I get from this. It's the
Gucci
bergamot,
coffee.
like the citrus. But then it's just it's more body, it's more sweetness as well. So it's light, but at the same time it's this creamy, smooth cup that has all the citrus. So less tropical than you usually get from the Gucci's. More just elegant.
For me, this is like the ultimate morning coffee because it is not a full on like a natural or something. This is more like a gentle, but it's still super like easygoing. It's like
Some people like the natural kick though in the morning, right?
So
You want a slow start.
Beautiful. But then let's go to the espresso.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really syrupy and sweet and I totally get what you're saying about the like here you actually have more of the tropical fruit.
Absolutely.
Which is fun.
Yeah. So it's more like the peach notes that come through and then just heavy, like it's not super heavy either, but the syrupy like almost sticky texture is just
and I think that the sticky texture is so fun because that's like it's not body, it's not mouthful per se, but it is that high level of sweetness that comes through.
Yeah.
This was our completely standard recipe of 19.0 grams in, this was actually 37.5 gram out, and it was in 27 seconds. And I think with this kind of coffee, make sure you use really well filtered water because these aromas, this acidity, doesn't come out if you have too hot water. So make sure you get like good filtered water for it.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Kasper, for sharing
Thank
your
you for having me.
Input on these coffees. Yeah. It's a pleasure. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you back here next time around for 2 new exciting coffees.
Take it easy.
Adios.